Hello, everyone. My name is Mathew Heggem. I am broadcasting live from my personal YouTube channel because my business YouTube channel is not quite qualified to broadcast live, and I don't have my laptop with me, which is a long story. Anyways, but I'm actually loving this experience of like learning how to be comfortable with just my notepad and my paper calendar and my phone on my desk, because as it turns out, you can accomplish quite a bit. So anyways, what are we doing here today? Well, today I am hosting a webinar. This is it right now. You're a part of it. I was originally going to do it through Zoom, but then I was like, you know what? I want to share this with more people and just kind of get the word out a little bit about what I'm really interested in right now as a business person, explicitly, right? As an artist, it's a different story, and most of the content on this YouTube channel is art related, which is a topic for another day. But let me tell you what the title of this this webinar is, or this presentation is. It's how to become an exceptional leader and guide your team towards greater impact. Again, that's how to become an exceptional leader and guide your team towards greater impact. Now, I want to kind of clarify what I mean, or why I chose the word exceptional, right? So I asked Alexa, the one with whom we will not say her name, because we know what happens when we do, what that word meant. And the things I caught from that were a rare instance, extraordinary, or unusual, right? And I use this word, or want to use this word, exceptional, in context of leadership, because what I'm not talking about is the status quo. What I'm not talking about is good enough, right? And I say that because the truth is we need exceptional leadership, period, right? We've always needed it. We've always wanted it. I think teams really hope for it when they, join a team. But the truth is some people pretend to be great leaders when they're in front of you, and then when they turn around, they're not. Or they are just satisfied with achieving mediocre results. And if that's you, okay, those are your choices, but those are not my choices. And for the people that are listening to this and choosing to completely listen to this, you will note that really the goal is about becoming exceptional. Another thing I want to mention too, and I got this from Simon Sinek. I was watching one of his YouTube videos in sort of preparation for this webinar, and wanting to think about, how I wanted to frame this conversation. And something that he said in that YouTube video was that leadership is a lifestyle, right? And I say that again, it goes back to this idea of being exceptional. It's not like exceptional when, or exceptional only if. It's not a leader only when, right? It's something you choose to do every day. It's how you interact with the world around you. It's how you behave in the context of your relationship to yourself and your friends and your family and nature and the communities that you interact with, right? That in fact, your leadership is something you live by, right? And I think that it's really important to own that, because a lot of people who are small business CEOs will kind of get caught in the trap of like pretending to be a thing at the office and working on the thing and trying to do the thing, but then when they go home, it's like all that stuff is only for the office. But actually, how you are in one place is how you are in another place. So you think it's working, and then when you go home and you're a mess, that's actually coming over here too, right? Because it is all about an expression of your values, your beliefs, your thoughts, your behaviors, and how you live out this way of being in the world as a leader, right? So I broke this down into sort of three buckets, right? And so the first bucket is really about starting with yourself, right? And doing your own work, getting yourself sorted out. And there's a couple of different things that are important in that context. One is really kind of building some sort of a routine for yourself, right? I believe in the morning routines and evening rituals and practices that really sort of elevate your health and wellness. And a good example of that right now, I'm making the commitment to going to bed at a decent hour every night and letting my body wake up naturally. And what I've found is that if I take a shower at 9 p.m., I begin a meditation at 9:30 and then lay my head down at 10 p.m., Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, then naturally my body wakes up between 5:30 and 6 a.m., which actually is perfect because my meetings tend to start around 7 a.m. at the earliest, sometimes 6:30 in the morning, sometimes 8 p.m., but that gives me plenty of time to get dressed, to lean into my day, to do some yoga, to do some more meditation, to do some reflection, and to prepare myself for the day that is about to unfold, right? And so it all starts with routine and ritual and practice around taking care of yourself. And sleep is the most important, or one of the most important health activities you can be engaged in, of course, with exercise and proper diet. And so take care of yourself, right? Then do your own work, right? Around whether that's around trauma specifically is what I'm talking about. So whether that's going to see a therapist, doing some journaling, reading some books to inspire you to think about what happened to you in your past and how you're processing it. It's really important to, as a leader, to invest in exploring the parts of yourself that maybe are uncomfortable for you, or that are trauma informed, because what you don't deal with is going to show up in your communications and in your work with your clients and most certainly with your team members. And so you want to clean that stuff up as much as possible. And it's not to say that there's a perfect state of bliss and nirvana that you'll achieve, in doing that work, because it's a constant. Once you open up the box, you start to realize how deep that box can go. But as long as you're building this awareness and looking at this stuff and processing your emotional body and processing your history and processing even some of the ancestral trauma that's embedded in our bones and our DNA, then when you start to show up in conversations with people, you'll have a greater awareness for them and their needs and your needs, and you'll create more powerful consensual relationships with people when you start to do that work, right? And then staying in a positive mindset, right, is a really important thing to work on as a leader. You've got to, when you get up in the morning, don't fall into the negative thinking of, oh, I wish I had done this yesterday, or oh gosh, I'm worried about this, or I don't want to deal with this. That's not going to help you, right? Because that starts to tune your brain into a station that is a station of self-defeat, right? Of limiting beliefs, of living in the past. And we're not trying to live in the past based on limited beliefs. Especially as a leader, we're trying to step into a new way of being that inspires others, that motivates others, that encourages people to challenge themselves. And again, remember, this is exceptional leadership guiding your team towards greater impact, right? So in order to support your team in getting to that destination, you have to be a beacon of light and energy and love and joy and kindness and creativity and inspiration. And you can't do that if the track in the back of your head is one of self-defeat and upset, right? So really work on finding things that inspire you and motivate you and encourage you and uplift you. And that's where music for me comes into play. Sometimes I just like to listen to fun music in the morning while I'm getting ready for the day. Sometimes I like to listen to these pre-recorded YouTube sound stations of like positive affirmations and motivational speeches, like whatever you can do to lift your brain, your thinking up into a different frequency, to tune the radio station to one that is positive and inspiring, is super important, right? And with that being said, always be learning, always be studying, study yourself, study other people, study communication, study your industry, study the planet, study the world around you, gain insight through the experience of learning, and, branch out and move beyond, maybe even things that are within your field specifically, or your focus. I know, for example, with this conversation, one of the books that's on my table right now that I have yet to read, but it's in queue, is Take Care of Your People. I think you see it backwards. The Enlightened CEO's Guide to Business Success. And this was a book that was gifted to me by somebody who worked at Insperity, really great guy. And even if I don't read the book, I love the title, and I love having that title on my desk, right? But nonetheless, I just finished reading this book here, The Power of Habit. Really important body of work around habits and how they work inside of us as individuals, and as culturally and in organizations. But I also have books on my desk that aren't related to business. Here's one right here. This is called Painting Enlightenment. It's a book about an artist whose work is all about the Heart Sutra, right? So the heart of the perfection of Wisdom Sutra, right? And the whole book has just these paintings and this history of information about what the Heart Sutra is. Who is the artist? I gotta find the artist's name. Come on, dude. Anyways, whatever. It's like so funny. Let's see. Iwasaki. I don't know how to say his name. I'm gonna be honest. Iwasaki. But what happens is I'll be sitting at my desk or my chair, and I'll kind of pull this up and just like randomly open it and read. Look at the painting and kind of reflect and read. And just this experience for me, it's about tuning into my sort of sense of spirituality and my relationship to the power of art, and it sort of tunes me into something greater than myself, and the potential of humanity and compassion and all that stuff, right? But that's all for me about studying and learning something from this body of work that then inspires me and motivates me and encourages me, right? And ultimately what this is all about, in starting with yourself, is cultivating a deep sense of self-awareness, right? Through practice. I do, again, a lot of meditating. I tend to meditate in the evening and in the morning, definitely during the work week. I kind of will give myself an exception on the weekends if I'm sleeping in and spending time with loved ones. But I also do quite a bit of yoga, journaling. I stay in communication with friends and family. I work on my communication with people, so that they can mirror back to me what they're hearing, and do a lot of reflection. And also, I'm a Feldenkrais practitioner, which, for those of you who don't know, Feldenkrais is the Feldenkrais method is a body of work around self-awareness through movement. And what I find is that in that work and in meditation, you gain this distance, right, between the thought and the action, and your observation of it is such that you start to be able to be like, oh, that's an interesting thought, but I also don't need to hold that thought. I can let it go. Or, oh, that's an interesting action I'm taking, but why am I taking this action? And can I pause myself before I actually take the action and do something maybe differently, with a greater sense of awareness of A, B, or C, right? So there's this sort of like distance of observation that you get to acquire through meditation and Feldenkrais work, or any other self-awareness work, that allows for you to be in this sort of expression as a leader that has the potential to be exceptional, right? To be, in essence, the lighthouse that others want to seek out and follow, right? If we're talking about guiding people need to want to be guided by you, right? And so you need to really step into and take ownership of yourself first, and how you express yourself and how you demonstrate through your words and your actions inside of the organization that you are a leader worth following, right? Now, That's not to say that, okay, check, you're done with all the self work and then you get to move on, right? It's more like, check, you've started the journey on self development and taking care of yourself, and you're going to continue that work for the rest of your life. Because remember what I said earlier, as was reminded, as we were reminded by the Simon Sinek quote, leadership is a lifestyle. So you're gonna leave this, and then you're gonna continue on to your next task, and you're gonna still be a leader, right? And then you're gonna go home and you're gonna sit down and have your dinner, and you're still gonna be a leader. And then you're gonna go into your bedroom and sit down and meditate, and you're still gonna be a leader. And you're gonna wake up tomorrow and rinse, wash, and repeat, right? So that's what that is, right? The second thing to focus on is to get clear about where you and your team are at in the organization, right? This is your opportunity to ask really great questions. The best leaders ask great questions of themselves, of their team members, of their clients, of their stakeholders, of the communities that they serve, of the information that they're receiving, right? And so it's really important to stand in an inquiry to begin to gain a sense of, okay, where are we actually at right now as an organization? And not like, oh, where did we want to be? What are we hoping for? What are we aspiring to? But rather like, okay, well, it is a fact that you have hope for that to occur, but did you take the actions? Yes, no, kind of, and we didn't do this, and this happened, and here's where we're at with all of the bits and pieces, right? And then don't make assumptions about the information that you're, oh, that we didn't do that because that person is horrible at their job, or we didn't achieve that because the client didn't really want to work with us. Well, okay, hold on, rewind. What is the evidence for that, right? I see a lot of leaders leaning on their past knowledge and experience to make assumptions about what happened today or what will happen tomorrow. And that's good. We want to use and gain, having gained the insights and experiences of the past, we want to step forward with that information. But that the past does not need to dictate the future based on the assumptions. So go back to the evidence. Okay, so we lost that deal. Why? Oh, well, the client didn't really want to work with us. Okay, did they say that? Well, no, but they didn't answer the email. And then when I called them, they kind of didn't really say what they, why they didn't want to go with us, but it sounded like maybe we were too expensive. Okay, but that's not evidence. That's all you thinking what you thought about what they said, right? So let's be clear. Let's get some evidence here, right? And one of the things that I like to underscore here is, yes, we can learn from the past, but we do not need to repeat it. And I see this over and over and over and over again. And I want to, again, underscore this is about how to become an exceptional leader and guide your team towards greater impact. So if you're not interested in greater impact, and exceptional leadership, then this is going to be a moot point, and you might as well just stop listening, in my opinion, or listen and challenge yourself to step up a notch, right? That just because that's how you've done it 50 times before does not mean that's how it can or could go or unroll going forward, right? And I think this is interesting because, again, we go back to the space of, okay, well, if I send out 100 emails, I know I'll get a response from 30 people, and of those 30 people, if I send that email and this sequence, then at least 2 people will say yes, and then we're good, right? Okay, because that's the formula that we repeated last time and it worked, and we did that 3 more times before that and it worked. And yeah, that's great. If you want the same results, if you want 2 people to do the same thing and you want to spam a bunch of people, fine, do that. Go ahead, have fun, produce the same results. But again, greater impact. So here's the opportunity where your team and you get to sit down and say, okay, that's great. We produced that result. That was the outcome, but can we do it better? Can we improve our system? Can we improve our process? Can we improve our workflow? Can we improve the experience that we have while we're doing the same process, right? Maybe the improvement isn't that you produce a different result, but you produce a different experience for yourself and for your community. What if you didn't have to spam 100 people to get to? What if you only had to email 50 people? right? To get the 2 people. Or what if you did it in half the time because you implemented some new technology and then bought back the time of that other employee to do another thing, right? It's really important to be open to change and transformation, because that's where you get to see the difference, right, in things. And noticing the difference is a part of the experience and the process that we want to go through. That PS is a little bit of a Feldenkrais attitude and belief. All right, and so the one place where you get to really look at the facts that is useful for you, I hope it's been useful for me, at least. And this comes from, by the way, I forgot to sort of introduce myself at the beginning. I was like, let's jump right into this. So Mathew Heggem, CEO and founder of 10kcreators.com. And when I'm not busy helping artists and arts organizations improve how they make and manage money, I am busy working in the accounting profession, helping to guide other accounting professionals in the work of prioritizing people and planet over profit. I'm also the co-founder of the Accounting Alchemy Network with a colleague of mine, Ingrid Edstrom, and we're doing some awesome work over there, right? Helping people to just like understand, for example, climate action or racial equity and how these things can be addressed through our work as accountants and as numbers professionals. And anyway, so all that to say that one space that I look at to get information and insight is the numbers, the finances, right? Because the numbers tell a story, and assuming that you have the correct numbers, there's a lot of facts to be found in the state of affairs, right, with your finances. And so, of course, you want to, look at your financial records, look at the historical trends, understand how you got to where you got with the labor, work, and action that got you to where you got, but also understand maybe some of the other pieces around, like your budget, for example. The budgeting process is a creative process of translating your ideas into numbers based on, market opportunity and circumstance. And so, really looking at your budget, or even how you calculated your sales projections, and really trying to understand the logic in the numbers themselves. That's a really important part of the process of owning the finances of your organization and understanding how this organization is functioning. But also it gives you the insight on maybe how to make some changes. And one thing I'll say here, and this sort of ties into the next and final piece of kind of getting clear about where you and your team are at inside the organization, it's this idea of actually being transparent about the numbers, right? To sit down with your staff members and have a conversation about, like, hey, everybody, here's our financial statements. Now, I know that some small business owners and even some executive directors out there are not so keen on sharing the numbers with their team members, because then, of course, what's going to come up, right? Oh, well, why is this person getting paid that? Why are we spending this much money on that? And those are actually all really good questions. The challenge is, are you actually ready to answer them, right? And this is where true transparency, and I think true leadership, that true invitation to leadership steps up. Because if you have half-baked or poor answers to those questions about your financial statements, and you're not willing to address them with your team, then first of all, you have not done your work around money. And there's a lot of opportunity there to be like, okay, yeah, why do I pay these people this amount of money, right? Is there reasoning behind it? And why am I spending money on this? And do you have shame or guilt around your finances? And that's okay, because we do. We all have these things around money, but it's this opportunity for you, again, for step one, exceptional leadership to guide teams towards greater impact, is starting with yourself. So maybe look at your own money stories and your own relationship to finances and say, okay, I need to work on that stuff, because if I want to have a greater impact and do amazing things in the world, I'm going to need a lot of money to do that, and a lot of other things, but a lot of money and a team that works with me to achieve these outcomes. I got to do some of my own money work in order to be able to have this transparent conversation with my team members and be vulnerable about what the state is. And then I need to be able to hold that space for my team members, because once they enter into the money conversation of the organization, they too are going to have to face their own demons, if you will, around money. And look, if again, go back to what I said earlier, if you don't want to do this work, you don't have to. You can continue your journey on the path that you're on. But if you want to be an exceptional leader and have incredible impact, and this is part of the work of being inside of a business which generates money inside of the container of capitalism, where impact and purpose is important, you have to look out and see what is going on with the world, and you have to take responsibility for that, how all of this stuff is manifesting and is coming to fruition. That there's work to do, there's serious work to do, and it starts with you and your team members. And because we're inside of capitalism, it also starts with looking at the money stories, right, that are a part of our transactions and our relationships with people. It's just, anyway, so I could, I guess that's something I get really excited about, and really passionate about, because I know for me, I've had people in my past who were not transparent about money. In fact, I worked for a company for 7 years, and became a partner of the company, and was lied to, and in essence found out, like, after 7 years, that the person I trusted, even with my own finances, was stealing money from a client, and that was devastating. And that's a whole other story. But the long and short of it is that I learned, okay, if people aren't being transparent about money, and you're not taking responsibility for the conversation, then Lord knows what's happening behind the scenes. And now you have to know what you're talking about when it comes to money, and that's a whole other conversation. I do not believe in this whole thing about some professionals will say, like accountants specifically, will say, oh, just leave the number stuff to me. I'll take care of it. Yeah, you will take care of it because I paid you to take care of it. But that doesn't change the fact that I need to understand what you're doing on some level, and I need to be in agreement with what you're doing, and I need to have a clarity around the outcomes and the risks and the possibilities of the work that you do. So don't just tell me to send you my QuickBooks file and you'll, quote, take care of it. That's baloney. So P.S., if any of your accountants are saying that, please hold them accountable. All right, whatever. Okay, so moving on to number 3, right? Number 3 is know where you want to go, right? This is the vision stuff, the mission stuff, the impact stuff, right? The why stuff, coming back to Simon Sinek. Why are you doing what you're doing? Let's be clear about that. Right, and really what it boils down to is what is the impact that you want to have on the world? What is the legacy that you want your business to leave as a result of the work that your team has done, and through the inspiration of your leadership, right? So know where you want to go, and I guess there's one analogy that I like to use because it's come up multiple times, right? And I've helped a couple of clients get to this place of like, okay, everything, all the worry you had about money and the fears and the anxiety of like getting it, we've addressed those. You're moving on and into a space of now you get to choose what your destination is. You get to choose where you're going, right? Because you have a little bit of a runway. And so in the container of that runway, what choices are you going to make? Or rather, what choice are you going to make about your destination? Because here's the thing. If I want to go to Hawaii, or I want to go to, insert name of beautiful destination here. Let's pick another destination. If I want to go to Berlin, I love Berlin. I'd love to go back to Berlin. Or Amsterdam. Well, yeah, let's go back to Amsterdam. Amsterdam was awesome. All right, so if you want to go to Hawaii or you want to go to Amsterdam, those are two completely different destinations requiring two completely different sets of action items. One of them being that you have to buy the ticket and get on the plane and travel there. And what I see often is that because people don't take that analogy seriously, they think of it more in the context of like, oh, I can always change my mind. Well, yeah, you can, but if you are literally in flight and you change your mind, You still need to get to the destination successfully, land, reorient yourself, buy a new plane ticket, and spend all that money, energy, and effort to get to the other destination that you really wanted to go. Right now, it's not that explicitly literal, and I get that there's a problem with using like literal analogies like that. But actually, it does matter, because the thing is when you look at that runway of cash that you have, for example, this is why I like to focus on the money piece with my clients. When you look at that runway that you have in terms of cash, and you think like, okay, well, going to Amsterdam is going to require this amount of money and these types of resources and this effort from my team. Going to Hawaii is going to require X, Y, and Z from my colleagues and my team, right? If you change plans mid-route, you might not have enough resources to actually get you to that other destination. And that's just sloppy management. Right, that's just sloppy management and poor leadership at the end of the day. And so you gotta gain clarity, and you gotta make commitments, right? Commitment to take action is really important around that destination, because from that decision to go that route, you then have the opportunity to develop clear strategies, or a clear strategy to get there. And then you can decide on all the tactics that are required to accomplish that strategy. And the one thing that matters the most in all of this, and I say this, I call this the secret to exceptional leadership and great impact, is communication, right? Communication skills are the most essential skill set, or is the most essential skill set you will acquire and cultivate and nurture and tend to as a leader, because the clearer and more impactful and powerful you are in your communication with yourself, with your colleagues, with your clients, with your vendors, with your partners, through your marketing, the greater the impact you will actually have, right? And so at the end of the day, that's the key to success when it comes to becoming an exceptional leader and having great impact. So yeah, that's all I'll say for now. If you have any questions, any comments, any curiosities, please feel free to drop a comment below. I would love to hear your thoughts on what makes for an exceptional leader. And if you have any resources that you think are worth sharing for those who guide others, it would be awesome to get your tips. All right, have a beautiful day. Thank you so much. And I might upload this over into my 10K Creators YouTube account, TBD on that one. Or not. No, I probably will, but we'll see. I don't know. This whole like living off of my phone thing has been interesting. I'm getting all these annoying notifications. So I'm going to go. Have a good day. Bye-bye.